When space is limited but insights are plenty, heat maps, highlight tables, and tree maps become your secret weapons. These visualizations condense thousands of rows into a single vibrant view, uncovering patterns, relationships, and trends in an instant, which are perfect for dashboards that needs to say more with less. And when the numbers fall short and words tell the story, that's where the visualization called word clouds step in. Word clouds help you spot the most frequent themes instantly. The bigger the word, the louder the message. Before we dive in and start building these cool visualizations and understanding the concepts, let's take a quick look at what's coming up in this video. In the previous video, we explored how to create bar charts, both standard vertical bars and horizontal bar charts. Conceptually, there's no major difference between the two. It's just a matter of swapping the data on X and Y axis. We have also covered group bar charts as well. Now in this video, I'll introduce you to stacked bar charts, which are just as easy to create in Tableau. Next, we'll explore highlight tables and their close cousin, heat maps. These two visualizations become especially valuable when we need to represent more than 3 variables in a single view. They not only help organize data in a structured format, but also deliver meaningful insights at a glance, making them ideal for reports and dashboards. In this section, I'll compare both and help you decide which is more suitable based on the context and the use case. After that, I'll show you multiple visualizations that represent the same information in different ways, so you can decide which one fits your use case. As a part of this exercise, we'll explore a chart called the tree map that represents the same information but in a stylish and visually engaging way. Then we'll move on to our next set of plots. The first plot is the combined axis plot and the second is the dual axis plot. Both are used here to visualize trends in sales and profit. But the combined axis plot highlights the relative magnitude between two measures, while the dual axis plot shows how sales and profit trends evolve together across each month. Once again, it's up to you to choose between the combined axis and dual axis plots based on what suits your specific use case. We are going to see pros and cons of both the plots together. And finally, I'll show you how to create a visually engaging element called a word cloud. It's a great way to highlight themes or values that appear more frequently in your data. In our example, we'll visualize cities based on how many times they appear in our dataset, where the size of each city name in the word cloud reflects its relative count volume. Awesome! These are some of the more basic yet colorful visualizations we will be covering in this video. As always, I'll first walk you through the core concepts, then we'll implement them step by step in Tableau. So without wasting another second, let's jump in and start building these cool visuals. So far, we have covered a few variations of bar plots, beginning with the fundamental vertical bar chart. In the simple vertical bar chart, we are showing the number of children who prefer different colors. Notice that color variable on x-axis is categorical, while the children count on y-axis is numerical. Similarly, we created a vertical bar chart in Tableau by placing category variable on the column shelf and the sales variable on the row shelf. This visualized the total sales of each category. Just like before, here the category is a dimension while sales is a measure. We can also represent the same information horizontally by simply swapping the rows and columns. We just need to click on this swap rows and column button in the toolbar. And that's how you can create both vertical and horizontal bar charts in Tableau. Next, we also created a group bar chart. Take a look at this example. Here the children are divided into separate groups, such as grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. Within each grade, we have created vertical bars that shows the number of children who prefer each color. This allows us to compare color preferences across different grade levels. Similarly, we created a group bar chart using the Superstore sales data. where each group represents a region: Central, East, South, and West. And within each region, the vertical bar shows the sales for each product category: furniture, office supplies, and technology. And creating this chart was quite straightforward too. We placed region and category dimension on the column shelf and sales, which is a measure, on the row shelf. I hope this served as a quick refresher on how we created a group bar chart in Tableau. Group bar charts are great, but we can also take it a step further by stacking all categories vertically within each group. This type of visual is called a stacked bar chart. In this example, I've represented the same data from the group bar chart in a stacked format to give you a quick side-by-side comparison. Now it's our turn to convert this region category sales group bar chart into a stacked bar chart in Tableau. Before we jump into building it, I'll first walk you through the business objective, explain why this chart matters, and outline our solution approach. Sounds good? Cool. Before we dive in, here's a quick reminder of the Superstore sales dataset we are using. Take a look at this snapshot to stay oriented. So the simple question we are again trying to answer is, how are sales distributed across different regions in each product category? And this analysis is important for the business as it helps identify high-performing regions per product category for smarter resource allocation. Second, it reveals underperforming regions in each product category and could guide us for targeted marketing effort in that region. And as you have already guessed, we need three fields for this analysis: region, category, and sales. And from the last section, as you might recall, we built a cross tab showing region versus category, because every region includes all three product categories and those categories are consistently present across all four regions. So this was a basic number table we started with. Now we can translate this information into a group bar chart, where each group represents a product category, and within each group we have 4 bars showing the category sales across all 4 regions. You might remember we created both of these visuals in the last section's video. Alternatively, instead of using separate bars for each region, we can use a single bar for each product category and stack the regional sales within it. This type of chart is also known as stacked bar chart. The final decision on which chart to use for presenting the findings is yours. But let me highlight a couple of key advantages of the stacked bar chart. First and most obvious, it takes up less space in reports or dashboards, making it more efficient for compact layouts. Second, unlike the group bar charts, where it is difficult to compare overall sales across categories, the stacked version allows us to clearly observe that technology has the highest total sales, while office supplies has the lowest overall sales. And to discuss the disadvantages of stacked bar chart, imagine the number of regions increases to 10. In such case, stacked bar chart can become cluttered very easily, making it hard to identify trends or patterns. With that said, let me show you how you can create a stacked bar chart in Tableau, and trust me, it will take just a few seconds. Alright, let's start up a fresh session in Tableau Public. I've already imported our sales data and set up everything, so we are good to go. Since we are creating a stacked bar plot, which is a vertical plot by default, and our groupings is based on product categories, I'll first drag category field to column shelf and sales to the row shelf to get a basic vertical bar chart as a starting point. We can adjust the width and height of the plot by dragging these edges. If you look closely at a stacked bar plot, each bar is divided into color-coded segments, with each color representing a different region. So to replicate that, we need to bring region field onto the color card in the marks pane. Let's also drag both region and sales onto the label shelf so we can display the region names and their respective sales figures directly on each colored section of the bar. And finally, I'm renaming the sheet to stacked bar plot. And this is how you easily create a stacked bar plot in Tableau. From this video onwards, you are in charge of the aesthetics of your plot. I'll be focusing more on the core technical concepts and implementation, so feel free to experiment and make your visuals stand out. Alright, let's move on to our next set of visualizations, highlight tables and heat maps. Before we dive into highlight tables, let's first understand the business question we are trying to answer, which is how do sales trend over the years differs across categories and regions. Take a moment to fully grasp the question, and if you can, try sketching a rough visual that might help analyze it effectively. Alright, so what's the business really trying to figure out here? By answering this question, they want to keep an eye on how customer preferences are changing over time in different regions and product category. That way, they can stay in tune with what the market actually wants. And second, they are looking to use this insight to plan better, especially when it comes to setting region-wise sales target and designing incentive programs. Understanding how each product category has performed over the years can really help with that. Now let's try to design a solution approach to visualize this data efficiently. The first thing that stands out from this question is that we need to analyze 4 variables at once, which are order date, region, category, and sales. This means we are not just looking how sales are changing over time, but also how those changes vary across different product categories and regions. And if you think about it, we are now juggling 3 dimensions: year, region, and category. If we try placing all 3 dimensions, year, region, category onto the column shelf, and the only measure, which is sales, onto the row shelf, the resulting group bar chart can become overly cluttered and difficult to interpret. I'm sure you can see what I'm trying to convey here. Let me rephrase what I just said and walk you through it. If you place year, region, and category onto the column shelf and put sales on the row shelf, Tableau will generate a group bar chart. But as you'll see, it gets pretty hard to read and make sense out of it. So instead, what we can do is to restructure our thought process. So we can try putting 2 dimensions, which is year and region, onto the column shelf and category onto the row shelf. This will give us a visual that looks like a table layout. Now by adding the sales field to both the text and color marks, I can fill the table with sales values and achieve the visualization we are aiming for. This kind of visualization is formally known as highlight table, where higher sales values are shown with darker shades and lower values with lighter ones, making it easy to spot trends at a glance. For instance, in this highlight table, it is easy to see that across all years, technology sales in West region topped the chart, reaching a peak of $96,000 in 2022. In the same way, you can quickly spot other valuable insights or noticeable trends depending on what you are looking to analyze. So in situations like this, when we are dealing with multiple variables, it makes more sense to use highlight tables instead of sticking with the default bar charts. Alright, now let's switch over to Tableau and quickly build this highlight table together. Once in Tableau, create a blank sheet and rename it to 2_highlight table. And let's follow the same procedure just discussed. Let's first put the year or order date and the region field onto the column shelf, and category field onto the row shelf. These steps will give us a basic structure of the table. Now to bring it to life, simply drag sales both to the color card and the text label in the marks pane. Now let's see what just happened here and what we are missing in this visualization. If you take a closer look at this table, you will notice that each cell containing the numerical sale value is filled with color, while the actual number or the text remains in black. But in our case, It's a numeric text that's colored, while the cell itself isn't filled with any background color. Right? Do you notice that? Now to fill entire cell with color while keeping the text as it is, go to the Marks pane drop-down and switch from automatic to square. And there you go, your highlight table is ready. Also, choose the Fit Width option from the Fit drop-down in the Quick Access toolbar. This fits the entire table on the view nice and clean. Now I'm pretty sure you can handle the rest of the formatting on your own, like picking a suitable color scheme or displaying sales values in thousands and so on. I'm confident you've got this. Now let's take it up a notch by introducing one more variable alongside these 4 variables we are already working with. So far, we have been working with these 4 variables, out of which 3 were dimensions, year, region and category, and 1 was measure, which is sales. We used these 4 variables to build this highlight table and felt pretty good about the result. But now, suddenly, let's say your manager comes in with a new request. They want a visualization that includes profit in addition to sales across the same 3 dimensions. And just like that, your brief moment of happiness takes a hit. But don't worry, I've got your back. Let's tackle this step by step and figure out how to fit that extra measure, which is profit, into our visualization. So essentially, what we are dealing with now are 5 fields in total. 3 are dimensions, which are year, category and region, and 2 are measures, sales and profit. Now to experiment with the current highlight table visualization, in Tableau, we can try dragging the new profit field onto the text card. What do you think will happen to this visualization? So this poor highlight table will try its best to squeeze both sales and profit figure into a single cell. For example, for the combination of furniture category in 2019 across central region, the sales is 32.9 thousand while the profit is minus 1105. But let's be honest, does that really make for a clean or effective visualization? Not really. In fact, doing so defeats the whole purpose of using a visual tool like this in the first place. When we cram too much information into one spot, it ends up cluttered and hard to interpret. So clearly, this isn't the most optimal way to go about it. So visualization analysts come up with a smart solution to handle this kind of complexity in a more simplified and effective way. To begin with, they retain the core structure of the table, keeping year and region onto the column shelf and category on the row shelf. Just like before, it produces the core structure of the table. But rather than placing sales and profit directly onto the text, they use 2 simple yet powerful visual cues, size and color. Here, circle size represents sales and color is used to represent profit, allowing both metrics to be communicated clearly and effectively without overcrowding the table. A clean, intuitive way to show 2 measures at once without clutter, just by using size and color smartly. In this visualization, I've applied a red-green diverging color scheme to represent profit, where darker red indicates lowest profits and dark green represents the highest profits. Meanwhile, the circle size is used to depict sales. So the larger the circle, the higher the sales. So just by glancing at this visualization, we can clearly observe that in 2022, the West region experienced high sales and high profit in both the office supplies and technology categories. On the other hand, the furniture category in the central region faced significant losses, making it the least profitable category region combination for that year. Now your manager or senior leadership can simply glance at this visualization to quickly spot any red flags or areas of concern. And if they wish to dive deeper or see exact sales and profit figure, they can easily hover over any of these circles to view the precise values. And this type of visualization, my friend, is called a heat map. So let's hop into Tableau and quickly walk through how to build this heat map. In Tableau, Start by creating a new blank sheet and name it to heat map. First, let's focus on building the basic table structure. Drag the year and region field onto the column shelf and place the category field on the row shelf. And just as we discussed, drag the sales measure to the size card in the marks pane and profit measure to the color card in the marks pane. You can easily adjust the height and width of this plot to better suit your layout. Now I'll make two quick changes to this visualization so it aligns with the version I showed you before on the slides. First, we'll change the shape of these marks from square to circles. So open the drop down in the marks pane and select the circle option. Next, we'll update the color scheme for this profit variable to a red-green diverging color palette. To ensure the lowest profit stand out as the darkest red color, check the box labeled as Use Full Color Range. Then click Apply and OK. Cool. And if you're not happy with the current size of the circles, you can easily customize it just by clicking on the size card in the marks pane and adjust the slider to set a size that best fits your visualization. Awesome! This is how you can create a heat map in Tableau. Now that we have explored both the highlight tables and heat maps, you can clearly see how heat maps can convey more information in certain cases and offer a better visual alternative. However, let's not default to choosing heat map every time. There are specific scenarios where heat maps might fall short in delivering the clarity or impact we need. And that's exactly what I'm going to walk you through next. This is the heat map we just created, and we had no trouble interpreting it, right? But now, imagine instead of using this category field, which has 3 major product categories, what if we substitute category by the subcategory field, which contains 17 unique subcategories, such as accessories, appliances, art, and so on till tables. Suddenly, the cardinality of this chart increases significantly, and as a result, this visualization becomes cluttered, and it gets much harder to quickly draw meaningful conclusions about sales, which is based on circle size, and profit, which is based on color. So the clarity and simplicity that made this heat map effective begin to fade away. In such scenarios, I would recommend avoiding the use of a heat map. As a remedy for this type of high cardinality situation, when you're working with all these 5 variables and you might not have choice of dropping any, I'd recommend using 2 separate highlight tables. One for sales and another one for profit. You can easily color code each table using a preferred color scheme to enhance readability. While this approach does result in more numbers to scan and compare, it offers a clear, more structured way to identify patterns and drive insight than a cluttered heat map would. As a homework exercise, try replicating this heat map and these highlight tables on your own. This small exercise would give you the essence of these plots. So that wraps up everything I wanted to share about heat maps and highlight tables. Now for the remaining basic visualizations like tree map, combined axis plots, and dual axis plots, I'm going to take a slightly different approach. Instead of jumping straight into the visuals, I'll first introduce a simple business question. From there, we'll try to figure out a few basic visualizations that you are already familiar with to represent the data. Once we've explored those, we'll look at some alternative visuals. And of course, I leave it to you to decide which visualization best fits your use case. So let's start with the tree maps. So starting with a simple question, let's say you want to visualize how sales and profit look across each subcategory in a dataset. The most straightforward way to do this is by creating a simple data table with 3 columns. The first one for the subcategory, rest of the 2 columns for sales and profit. Pretty basic, right? And I'm sure by now you can easily build this kind of table in Tableau without any trouble. Still, let me give you a quick refresher. So let's head over to Tableau and create a new blank sheet and rename it to data table, sales and profit. Now if you remember, all subcategory names appear in a separate rows, so we'll first drag subcategory field onto the row shelf. You can adjust the column width to make it a bit more readable. After that, just drag sales and profit one by one onto this text area onto the canvas. And that's it. You've got your simple data table ready. Cool? Another way to visualize the same information is by creating a group bar chart. In this chart, each group would represent a subcategory. And inside each group, you will have two bars, one showing sales and other showing profit. Let's quickly set this up in Tableau. Again, start by creating a blank sheet and renaming it to group bars, sales and profit. Now just like we did before, to create a vertical bar plot, drag the subcategory field, which is the dimension, to the column shelf and drag the sales measure to the row shelf. This would give us a vertical bar plot showing the sales for each subcategory. Simple enough, right? In a similar way, drag the profit field onto the row shelf next to the sales and see what happens. As soon as you drop the profit field, you will notice that the chart splits in two parts. The upper section shows bars for sales, while the lower section displays bars for profit. But that's not the layout we are aiming for. What we actually want is for the sales and profit bars to appear side by side within each subcategory group. Like in this accessories group, instead of being stacked on above each other, we want these two bars to be displayed side by side. No worries though, since Tableau is quite intuitive, it can figure out what we are trying to achieve. To see what Tableau is suggesting us, we can head over to this Show Me tab, and inside the Show Me panel, from the third row, click on the last icon that represents side by side bars. And just like that, you will have the desired plot with sales and profit bars neatly placed next to each other. So this was another way to represent sales and profit for each subcategory. And I'm sure you'll handle the formatting of this plot just the way you like it. Now I hope you're getting a clear idea of what we are trying to explore here. Can you think of other creative ways to represent the same information? If yes, go ahead and try them out in Tableau. Just remember, one of the best ways to learn data visualization and data science in general is by experimenting on your own. So take a moment, explore different options and let your creativity bring those insights to life. Alright, now can I suggest trying something we have just learned? What about heat maps? Sound a bit unusual in this context, but take a look at this simple vanilla heat map. Doesn't it look clean and insightful? Here, the size of the circle is represented by the sales and the color shows the profit. So if you are running short on space in your dashboard, this heat map can be a great way to provide a quick at-a-glance view of these key metrics, sales and profit, without overwhelming the user with numbers. So now I want you to implement this heat map on your own as a homework exercise. And I really hope you are keeping track of all the little tasks and homework I've sprinkled throughout this video. They are really meant to help you practice, experiment and get confident with Tableau. Now apart from these three visualizations, what if I told you that there's a visualization quite similar to this heat map, except instead of these circles, each data point is represented by a rectangle. For example, the size of each rectangle can reflect the sales and the color of each rectangle can represent the profit. And all these individual rectangles can be neatly placed inside a larger one, making great use of space while still being visually informative. And the final result may look something like this. And this sort of visualization is also called a tree map. It is called a tree map because this entire large rectangle kind of represents a tree, and each of these small rectangles inside it are considered a leaf. So now let's jump into Tableau and see how we can quickly build a tree map of our own. Once again, let's start by opening a blank sheet and renaming it to tree map. And since it is a fourth major visualization, that's why I placed a 4 in front of tree map. Remember, we are dealing with subcategories, sales and profit. To start with, just drag subcategories to the row shelf and drop the sales on the text mark onto the canvas. And just like before, Tableau reads our intent. So we can head over to the Show Me tab and click on this first icon in the 4th row, which looks like a tree map we just discussed. And there you go, a basic tree map is ready to work with. If you look closely in the marks pane, this tree map currently uses both sales for the size as well as sales for the color. So our intent was to represent sales with the size, that is fine, but we can drag out the sales from the colors and represent the color with the profit instead. And if you would like, we can change this color scheme to a favorite red-green diverging color scheme which we have extensively used for the profit variable. Here in the color dialog box, make sure you check this Use Full Color Range to properly utilize the darkest shades for red and click OK. And just like that, your tree map is ready to be used for reporting or dashboard purposes. And that's how you can create multiple visuals for the same analysis and choose the one that best fit your needs. You can even use them together as a combo, depending on what story you want your data to tell. In the same way, let's take up another simple business question and use it as an opportunity to explore a few more insightful visualizations. Ready? The next question is quite similar to the previous one. But this time, instead of analyzing sales and profit by subcategory, we are shifting our focus to understand how sales and profit trend across each month in the Superstore sales dataset. Here we have a simple data table showing the raw numbers we are interested in. And just like we did in the previous example with subcategories, here also we can treat each month as a group and convert this data into a group bar chart. For instance, in this chart, this January is one group and these two bars represents sales and profit for the January month, right? Now as another quick exercise, try replicating both of these visuals on your own. The data table and the group bar chart for monthly sales and profit. Again, it's a great way to reinforce what we have just covered. Now can you think of another plot type that captures this monthly temporal trends? Something that shows how value change over time month by month. That's right, if a line chart came to your mind, then you are definitely thinking in the right direction. Keep in mind, we are working with two measures, sales and profit. So we can start with a basic line chart that looks like this one shown here. In this setup, this top section displays the monthly sales trend, while the bottom section shows the monthly profit trends, right? Before we dive into exploring more variations, let's quickly implement this basic line chart in Tableau. In Tableau, I'm creating a new sheet and let's rename it to Basic Sales and Profit Line Chart. Since this is a basic visualization, it's also simple to create. We can start by dragging order date field onto the column shelf. This will help extract the months. So to extract the month, click on this drop down on the order date pill in the column shelf and select this month option. This shows all 12 calendar months on the visualization canvas. Now let's drag sales and profit field one by one onto the row shelf. This will give you a basic split line chart, where the top part represents the monthly sales trend, while the bottom one shows the monthly profit trend. Cool? Now do you see any red flag with this split line chart? Don't you think it is a bit difficult to compare sales and profit trends in this split view? In other words, having these two separate line plots makes it harder to read and draw any conclusive insights at a quick glance. So basically, the comparison between sales and profit isn't as intuitive as it could be. So instead of keeping them in a separate plot, let's try plotting sales and profit as two separate lines on the same chart. This way, we can directly compare the trends over time and hopefully spot some meaningful patterns or insights. Let's take a closer look at this chart and see what's changed. If you notice, this purple line representing sales and the golden line representing profit are both separate variables or measures, but both of them share the same y-axis to display their values. That's exactly why this type of visualization is called a combined axis plot, because both measures are plotted on a single shared axis for easier comparison. Before we jump into the pros and cons of this combined axis plot, let's first go ahead and implement it in Tableau. Once done, we'll come back and have a quick discussion on how it compares with the other options. Here in Tableau, let's again create a new sheet and name it as Combined Axis Plot. Just like we did here, drag the order date field onto the column shelf and convert it to months to display all 12 calendar months. But this time, drag only the sales measure to the row shelf. Since we want to plot the profit on the same y-axis and avoid getting this split plot view, we will not drop profit next to the sales on the row shelf. Instead, I'm going to drop the profit field directly onto the existing sales axis. You will notice that Tableau highlights the axis when you hover over it while dragging the profit field. So go ahead and drop the profit field on the sales or y-axis, and instantly Tableau creates a combined axis plot with both sales and profit lines sharing a common y-axis. You can also customize the color of each of these lines using this color legend that best suits your style or dashboard theme. There's one more neat feature in Tableau you might notice here. If you look at the row shelf on this combined axis plot, you will see that sales and profit fields are no longer appear as separate green pills, just like we used to have in previous plots. Instead, Tableau automatically replaces them with a single green pill labeled as measure value. This indicates that multiple measures like sales and profit are now being plotted together using the same axis. It's a smart and clean way how Tableau handles combined visuals. Now let's take a few seconds to appreciate the real utility of this measure value feature in Tableau. So if you click on the drop down on the measure value pill and choose the first option, edit filter, you will see something interesting. For our current plot, only two measures, sales and profit, are selected. But a dataset contains other measures too, like discount, quantity and count of orders. So count of orders is essentially the number of rows. So from this dialog box, you can select or deselect any measure you want to include in the plot. So for example, if you want to visualize the discount trend alongside sales and profit, just check the discount box and hit OK. And Tableau will instantly add it to the combined plot. So here discount trend is represented with this blue line. Now you might notice that the discount line appears almost flat on the chart. And if you're wondering why that is, it's not because there is no trend in discount. It is actually due to the scale difference between the total sales and the discount. Sales figures are much higher in magnitude compared to the discount values. So the discount line looks nearly flat when all three measures are plotted together, right? So to see discount trend more clearly, you can simply deselect sales and profit from this measure value filter, leaving only discount selected, and hit OK. And once you do that, you'll notice a much more visible trend in monthly discounts. Now let's switch back and only display sales and profit on this plot, since that aligns with the current use case. Here's one more important feature of this measure value pill that you should definitely know. Now let's say you want to display sales labels on the sales line and profit labels on this profit line in this combined plot. Sounds simple, right? But how would you actually go about it? I want you to take a moment here, pause the video if needed, and try this out on your own in your Tableau workbook. It will be a great little hands-on experiment how Tableau handles labels in a multi-measure setup. Give it a shot. Okay, so let's try adding the labels. I'm starting with sales. So if I drag sales onto the text label in the marks pane, you will notice both lines, sales and profit, now show same sales label for that particular month. Is that what we want? Absolutely not. The profit line should display only profit values, not sales. So maybe out of desperation, you might try dragging the profit field onto the text label once again. Now once you do that, notice what happens. Now both lines are showing both sales and profit values together as label. Again, this isn't what we want either. Clearly we need a better approach to control labels individually for each line. And yes, there's a clean and dynamic way to handle this. First, let me remove the sales and profit pills from the text label. Remember this measure value pill we used on the row shelf? That's the one dynamically controlling which measures are displayed in the plot. So if you have been observant throughout the course, you would have also observed that under the data pane, we also have the measure value field. So rather than dragging sales and profit onto the label, we can directly drag this measure value field onto the label itself. And just like that, Tableau automatically displays the correct labels for each line based on the measures selected in your measure value filter. So this is exactly what we wanted. And that's the final combined axis plot for you. The last thing I want to highlight about this plot is a quick note on its pros and cons. On the plus side, it's definitely a step up from this split plot. It's more compact, saves space, and makes it easier to compare multiple measures like sales, profit, discount, month by month, all in one view. But there's a flip side too. As we saw in the case of discounts, if there is a large difference between two measures, for example sales and discount, the smaller measure might look almost flat and hard to interpret. So while this visualization is powerful, we need to be a bit cautious. Always consider the magnitude of the fields you're plotting together to make sure the insights remain clear and meaningful. I hope now you understand most of the fundamentals of this combined axis plot, along with one powerful Tableau's feature, which is measure values. And because of this major limitation of this combined axis plot, we need to think of an alternative approach. Is the alternative approach even possible, where we can view both patterns like sales and discount in a single plot without one overshadowing the other? Think about it for a moment. We might need out-of-the-box solution for this. And that's exactly what we are going to explore next. So it's not just the discount field that faces this issue. Even sales and profit have noticeable magnitude differences. And as you can see, this sales trend line often overshadows the profit line because of the magnitude differences, making it harder to read and compare both effectively. So what if we do something smarter here? Instead of using a single axis for both measures, we could keep sales on the left y-axis and pull out a separate y-axis on the right side for profit, all within the same plot area. Sounds interesting, right? Well, that's the idea behind the dual axis plot. And this is exactly how a dual axis plot looks in action. As you can see, profit no longer shares the left y-axis with the sales. Instead, profit now uses a separate y-axis on the right, which comes with its own independent scale. Take September month for an instance. The total sales for this month is over $300,000, while the profit is around $37,000. And also thanks to this setup, both trends are now clearly visible and neither one overshadows the other. Now you can clearly see that as the monthly sales increases, the profit also tends to move upward, which indicates a positive correlation between the two. So this dual axis plot makes this relationship much easier to spot at a glance. That's the real strength of a dual axis plot. So this is how we overcome the limitation of this combined axis plot. Let's jump into Tableau and quickly build this dual axis plot to uncover how monthly sales and profit relate to each other. Once in Tableau, let's again create a new sheet and name it as dual axis plot. Here also, let's start by dragging order date to the column shelf and convert it into months and display the 12 calendar months separately. Now this time, drag both sales and profit onto the row shelf one by one. And as expected, Tableau will generate a split view with the top chart showing the sales trend and the bottom chart showing the profit trend. Now from here, converting this into a dual axis plot is a real cakewalk. Just head to this profit pill onto the row shelf and click on this small drop down arrow and select this third last option from the bottom that says dual axis. And just like that, Tableau creates a separate y-axis for profit on the right side of the plot, giving both sales and profit their own scales as well. That's how easy it is to build a dual axis plot in Tableau. With this dual axis plot, one important thing that I want to highlight here is a change that happens in the marks pane. Did you notice something new? If you compare this marks pane with the one from earlier plots, you will see that now we have three separate sections. One for sales, one for profit, and one for all that controls both sections. Can you guess why is that? Well, that's because we are technically working with two individual line charts layered on top of each other but using separate y-axes. Tableau treats them as distinct visuals, giving you independent control over their formatting, labels, colors, and style for each one. Pretty neat, right? For example, if you want to display profit labels on the profit line, you just need to open the profit section in the marks pane and drag the profit field onto the text card in that section. Similarly, to show labels on the sales line, open the sales section and drop the sales field onto its text label card. And in the same way, you can take care of the rest of the formatting, like cleaning up these numbers, adjusting colors, changing line style, etc. So this is how Tableau gives you full control over individual formatting for each line in this dual axis plot. Now you can customize them independently without affecting the other. Now here's one more task for you. We just created this dual axis plot for sales and profit. Now go ahead and create a similar dual axis plot for sales and discount. Remember how discount appeared almost flat in this combined axis plot because of the scale differences? Well, now using a separate axis for discount may help reveal its actual trend much more clearly. Try it out and see what insights you can draw. Awesome. Now that we have covered most of the fundamental plots in this video, there's one last fancy visualization I would like to quickly show you. It's simple, visually striking, and quite fun to create. Let's take a look. Imagine you are reading an online blog or article about the latest developments in technology. Naturally, you might wonder, are there certain words that appear more frequently than others? Now that you have got some Tableau skills under your belt, you start thinking, can I visualize these frequently occurring words in an engaging way? And this is what your mental image might look like. Since this article is about tech, your mental visualization may highlight words like ChatGPT, model, users, version in large bold fonts, while words like view, select, generating, or store may appear much smaller. The words which are highlighted in large bold fonts may be the words that appear more frequently in this tech article, and the words which appear smaller may occur with much lower frequency in this article. So this type of cloud, which is a size-driven visual, is often called a word cloud visualization. It's specifically useful when you want to instantly draw someone's attention to the most prominent or important keywords while still including the rest of the words in subtle, less distracting way. Looks cool? So in Tableau, I'll walk you through how to create a word cloud for your dashboard. For example, let's say we want to highlight the names of the cities in a dataset based on how many times they appear. Let's switch to Tableau and get hands-on with this final word cloud visualization. So again, start by creating a new sheet and name it to word cloud. Now let's build this visualization step by step in logical order. Since we are dealing with text, so let's start by dragging this city field to the text card in the marks pane. This will display the names of all cities in the dataset. Next, drag the city field again, but this time drop it onto the size card. And from the drop down on the size pill, change the aggregation to count. At this point, Tableau might show you something resembling like a tree map that we are already familiar with. Here the most frequently occurring cities are grouped and displayed in the left top corner. But we don't want a tree map. We are aiming for a word cloud instead. So here's what to do next. We can go to the marks pane and click on this drop down that currently says automatic. And instead of automatic, select this text option. Now it starts to look like a proper word cloud, with city names sized according to how frequently they appear in the dataset. Now all that's left is to add some color to this cool visual. Now there are two easy ways to go about it. First, we can give each city a unique color. To do this, just drag the city field onto the color card in the marks pane. This assigns a unique color to every city. Secondly, we can also use a color gradient based on frequency. So the idea is, if you want cities that occurs less frequently, like these ones, to fade into the background, here's what we can do. Click on this color card in the marks pane, then from this drop down, go to the measure and select the count option. Now both the text size and color shade represent the frequency of each city. So cities that occur more often will appear in larger, darker text, while those that occurs less often will be lighter and smaller. Just the kind of visual contrast we might want in our word cloud visualization. Looks fine? And that's it for now. Before we wrap up, let me give you a quick recap of all the basic plots and visualizations we explored in this video. We started with the most simple and intuitive bar plots and explored its types, and finally learned to create a stacked bar plot which showed regional sales distribution for each product category. Then we said, what if we have too many dimensions to squeeze into a bar plot? That gave rise to the highlight tables. We created a highlight table showing year-wise sales per category in every region. Later, things got interesting when we tried to add profit to this highlight table, which was not a practical move, and that led us to the heat maps. Here we created circles. Their size showed sales and color was mapped to profit, and that too in a same grid structure as that of highlight tables. Later, we pulled out the tree map, where each rectangle is a leaf on a data tree, sized by sales and colored by profit, which is perfect for the moments when space is tight in your dashboard and the story must be told fast. Next comes the combined axis plot and the dual axis plot. These plots helped us visualize how do sales and profit behave together over time. In the combined axis plot, we have seen the importance of scale that ultimately led us to the dual axis plot for better interpretation. And to wrap things up on a fun note, we learned about the word cloud visualization. We created word cloud visualization to city labels in our dataset using text size and color to indicate frequency. It was engaging and instantly communicative, which is a great addition to any dashboard. Cool? With this, let's end this video here, and I'll see you in the next one.